has fought all these wars. He's now a distinguished senior fellow with the great Commonwealth Foundation. He was on Fox and Friends this morning because John Fetterman, typical progressive, he's one of the most virulent anti-choice when it comes to charters, vouchers, private schools, Catholic schools. And yet his kiddos routinely have been paying $34,000 a year, probably the grandfather, to go to this Winchester Thurston school that we've been kind of mocking. David P. Hardy had a different vision. He is the emeritus founder of a great school, charter school concept, and that was mainly inner city males, high academic standards, boys Latin. And I'm not sure if Latin was part of the curriculum there, but I believe things like that were and still are. David Hardy's with us on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, great TV work today on Fox and Friends, David. I know, though, you wanted to open up a little bit more. It was kind of generalized. We're talking, with you joining us, about the holdup of this $28 million in school books for non-public, private or Catholic schools. You made the point today about charter schools are public schools, and yet the Fettermans of the world don't seem to recognize even that.
He seems painfully unaware or uninformed about this stuff. Somebody told him he was against it, and he said, okay, I am, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, and you can see that from his statements.
Yeah, exactly. But the hypocrisy of this, for a guy to avoid Braddock schools, which they're bad, public schools. And you made the point, one of the reasons, the biggest reason why all this goes on they are a monopoly, and schools like yours outperform them, and yet even charter schools, which are public schools, are under attack. What's the reason you believe the charter schools are often under attack?
You don't belong to the same fraternity. I mean, these are people who are believing in one school system, one group of employees, one group of unionized employees, and nobody else can work there. They've got this whole thing kind of cornered. They've got this market cornered. And then for the people who work there, they get to take money out of their check for their union dues to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in political contributions, fighting choice alternatives that would help low-income children. That's what they do with our tax money, and that's what they do with our kids.
It's particular, too, when we see the difficulties with African-American males, sadly, the difficulties in the inner city, et cetera, and a school like yours coming in with rigorous standards. I guess I would say tough love, David, from afar, from what I can see. And I visited other schools like this, and very successful, and yet still in the public schools. That ought to be spread across the school district, the lessons from that. What blocks that?
Well, they don't want to change, because it means that you have to work. Look, school just started this week, and I'm sure that in Philadelphia public schools, the union rep from that building is telling people, don't work past 2:30 or whatever the time they get out. Don't do anything extra. Giving them things, making them uncooperative instead of trying to build a team around a mission of educating children. And it's all about dollars and hours. They only want to work a certain amount of hours, and they want a certain amount of dollars, and they don't care about anything else. And like I said, they spent $200 million on political contributions a couple years ago. Imagine what $200 million of research could do for the practice of teaching, and all their teachers could get better. They weren't thinking about that. They were thinking about the political power. And that is a sad thing, because let me tell you something. The school budgets have been going up astronomically. School teachers' pays have not kept pace. Now, these unions that are supposed to serve them have not served them well. And so I hope sometime somebody's going to get some good sense and learn that we need multiple choices. We need educational freedom. And I think teachers will work out better, and certainly the students will work out better.
Well, the evidence is there. And David, if I were governor someday in a position like that, you're among the 2 or 3 people I would consider to be the Secretary of Education. One of the reasons is all hell would break loose. I once interviewed Marva Collins a couple times after that. Now, this was well after she was on 60 Minutes, et cetera. And I'm telling you, I was shaking during the interview. That's how much a hero. We talked about our Gucci bags while teaching Shakespeare to kids in the Cabrini Green Project, which is one of the worst in the country in Chicago. And I think about what you've done with Boys Latin, how doable it is. But you're right. The formula is it takes hard work, tough love, and people that are unshakable that this is doable. The public schools are never going to do that for the reasons that you outlined, and the teachers that try to do it are going to be on the wrong side of the vibe there with the union, et cetera.
A few years ago in Washington, D.C., the union made a rule that you had to close the school buildings at 3 o'clock because they didn't want teachers staying after school to help. So the teachers that were committed were going to like McDonald's and bringing the kids to McDonald's, and they do their lessons at McDonald's. And I got to tell you, that looked to me a lot like back in the old days of slavery, where you weren't allowed to teach black people how to read and write. They had to go do it in secret. They had to go teach in secret from public education in Washington, D.C. This is how crazy this stuff is, Dom.
It is, David. And what is it that allows, let's face it, particularly African-American politicians and others, if they would debate you on something like this, what is it that we're missing? You've been in the forefront more than I on this. I get the blow of you. I taught, I write about it, I did all kinds of things too. I taught in Camden and places like that. But I haven't succeeded at the level you did with Boys Latin. What do they say to you to blunt what you and I are talking about in any way, shape, or form?
Well, they don't. I mean, look, you talk to them in private, everybody agrees with you. I mean, you go to a charter school opening, you'll see all the politicians there taking pictures with the kids and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes time to standing up to the union, then the numbers get a little sparse. And the biggest example I've seen of the teachers' union power is when they had to vote in Pennsylvania State House for the Lifeline Scholarship. And one Democrat voted for it, and they brought the House down on him. And then nobody else said a word about it. Yep. They didn't say, I don't like the Lifeline Scholarship. That could have been their position, but they wouldn't publicly say that. They said nothing. And that means that the teachers' union is stifling debate. You can't even have a conversation about this stuff in public anymore because the teachers union will keep it from happening with your political people.
Well, I can tell you one thing, too. Look, I love to debate. I love the ferocity of it, as you know, but you're one of the guys I'd have to take to the mattresses to debate if I were on the other side. So let's be fair. It's pretty tough on them. Hey, David, thank you. Thanks for coming on today. Great stuff, too, on Fox and Friends this morning. We'll continue the conversation. Thanks, David.
Thanks a lot. Always a pleasure, Dom.